What is up, Buff Nation, and welcome on in to the Sko Show right here on Mile High Sports. Aniello, Piro, Chase Howell, super producer Danny Bailey behind the glass. This show is presented to you, as always, by our friends over at Peckish. And my friend, the regular season has come to a close, but Heisman season is heating up.
We're just a few days away from New York. They introduced the finalists. Obviously, no Shedeur, which people were on pins and needles to see, but we'll get into that. We'll see if that was a good snub or a bad snub. It would have been nice to see Shedeur in New York, but I think the man that's going to hold the Heisman Trophy is a Colorado Buffalo. So how can we complain?
Yeah, I completely agree. And obviously, Colorado only has one Heisman Trophy winner in their history. So Travis Hunter looking to do something that is a bit of a rare territory for the Colorado Buffaloes. But you know what's funny to me, and we'll get into it throughout the course of the program here today, is how people are trying to tear him down over the last. I mean, they've been trying to tear him down all season, if we're being completely honest with ourselves. But we got some cool stuff to break down. I got Patrick Surtain, the Denver Broncos cornerback and the best quarterback in the NFL, talking about Travis Hunter from our Mile High Sports magazine shoot. I will play that for you here in a little bit. But in general, I don't understand. Like, I understand that the talking heads have to be the talking heads, right? They gotta, have their moment. They gotta, do whatever they gotta do to get some attention. But there is no question that Travis Hunter is going to win this Heisman Trophy.
I guess Elon took a lot of that money that he was using during the political campaign, and he sent a bunch of Ashton Genty minions onto Twitter to respond to everything that is said about Travis Hunter, because there's been some very heated conversations recently on Twitter, and I've gotten myself involved a couple times.
I've seen you.
Sometimes you got to defend the sword, and what has been going on in the tear down Travis Hunter campaign, the Oregon Duck. I have a lot of words to say about that guy, but to go on Pat McAfee and say snaps isn't a stat.
Yeah, what is wrong with him?
Why?
Dan Lanning.
Why are we still in their head?
Yeah, that is kind of weird.
Different conference.
That is
they're number one in the country, and they're talking about us. That's tough.
I think it's because his quarterback is, going to be in the running as well. I don't know if he's going to be in the top 3. We're going to give you guys our Heisman rankings at some point throughout the course of the show. I'll tease it. I don't have him in my top 3 personally. I don't understand the obsession that Oregon football has with Colorado football.
I think Coach Prime gave a little law of Jesus on Twitter this morning when he saw Shedeur's stats compared to Dylan Gabriel, which was good to see.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. But I mean, look, any of you that have been watching the show for a while, you know that Chase and I have been on this Travis Hunter bandwagon. I don't even want to call it a bandwagon, but we've been believers in Travis Hunter and Coach Prime since the moment he was announced as head coach for the Colorado Buffaloes. And I think it'll be such a cool culmination. Like, look, obviously, Colorado had a chance to be in the college football playoff. I think them losing out, or not losing out, but, losing to Kansas and not making the playoff, sure, that's a little sour. You wish they would have been able to win that game. You wish they would have been able to play in Arlington for that Big 12 championship. But still, it collectively with the body of work, this season has been nothing short of fantastic. I mean, so many Kodak moments, and I think you're going to get the cherry on top this weekend in New York with Travis Hunter being the rightful winner of the Heisman Trophy. I would be downright shocked. Like, I'm not going to be like some of those people on like social media that are like, going to do certain things if this doesn't happen, if you know what I'm talking about. But I would generally be dumbfounded. I might wear a Phillies hat. Maybe that's my punishment. I might wear a Phillies hat and an Eagles shirt if Travis
should be doing that anyway, considering
the
teams you root for.
No, absolutely not. Well, my Mets just got Juan Soto, so that's a conversation for another day. But I mean, real quick, let's get some big picture thoughts out there. Look, no disrespect to Ashton Genty and some of the other guys, that are out there, Scattaboo among the others, great players, great seasons, right? But at the end of the day, Travis Hunter's been an absolute unicorn in his ability to play at a high level, both as a wide receiver and as a cornerback. I mean, look at the stats, and he plays darn near every single down. And I think here's the other thing is you don't have like a Bryce Young type. You don't have a Tua Tagovailoa type, right? Like, there's not like a legitimate quarterback that he's having to go up against, which I think also is what helps Travis Hunter's case in this situation.
I think if we saw Cam Ward and the Miami Hurricanes maybe go 13-0 and they're playing in the college football playoff, their top 4 seed, I think Cam Ward might be the only deserving quarterback on that list. But as you said, what Travis Hunter has been able to do this year, stayed relatively healthy. I think we talked about that a lot in terms of his Heisman campaign at the beginning of the year. Yeah, he missed basically 6 quarters in the middle of the season against Kansas State and against Arizona. If he's playing in that Kansas State game, they probably win the game, and we're probably talking about college football playoff instead of all this Heisman talk. But what he is able to do, the 100-yard receiving games, the
Mm-hmm.
interceptions, the forced fumble on the goal line, which he was talking about with Scott Van Pelt as his Heisman moment this year, which I kind of agree with him. I think that's what really jumped him up into the conversation. He has proven that he's the best player in college football. Week in, week out, you turn on the TV, you want to watch Travis Hunter. Ashton Genty, great running back.
Boise State,
People aren't
Mountain
tuning
West.
in to watch Boise State like they are for Travis Hunter.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at some of the numbers, man. I mean, to your point, like every game that he played legitimate snaps in, he was going for 100+ yards for the most part. He started out the season 7 for 132 and 3 touchdowns against North Dakota State. Tough game against Nebraska. He still got his with that one, 110 receiving yards. Then he follows that up with Colorado State, couple of touchdowns. Baylor didn't score, but he had 7 for 130. UCF, he made an impact, 9 for 89 and a touchdown. You mentioned he was hurt in the Kansas State game. Arizona, he played in the Arizona game, but I think they benched him at half. Not benched him, but told him to take a seat for his health there in the second half as well, because they were waxing him.
What was arguably the number one receiver in the country. I think to Torora McMillan had like 2 or 3 catches in that first half.
Absolutely. I mean, like multi-touchdown games all over the place. Cincinnati, 9 for 153 with 2 scores. Texas Tech, he had 9 for 99 and a score. KU, despite losing, he had 125 and 2 touchdowns as well. And then he finishes out the regular season against Oklahoma State with 116 for 3 scores. And he also plays cornerback.
That's exactly. What's crazy is we really didn't see all of the Travis Hunter slander going on social media until basically the last 2 games after they lost to Kansas. I think it's when people started talking about it. And I think Kansas and I think arguably Oklahoma State was his best game of the year. The touchdowns, the interception to start the game that really set the tone. To be talking all this slander about him after that type of performance is kind of crazy.
Let me ask you this, though, in a little bit of a journalistic sense. Do you think the fact that he did not play on conference championship weekend hurts him? I personally don't think that it does, but that was one talking point that I was like, okay, like maybe I can buy that in the sense of like, all eyes are on college football and conference championship weekend, right? And the fact that Colorado and Travis Hunter was not playing on that weekend. Meanwhile, he had Ashton Genty doing his thing, Cam Scatterby as well out there at Arizona State doing his thing. I think Travis had done enough throughout the course of the regular season to solidify his case, but that is one thing that I could see, like maybe that causes some doubt in the back of the mind of some voters.
Absolutely. I think it's the final weekend, and voters could vote before the conference championship, but I believe the voting ended right before this past Monday. So they were able to vote after conference championship weekend as well. And when you can turn on the TV and watch an Ashton Genty run for, I don't know, what do you run for, 200 yards, something like that?
Something like, yep.
Right around 200. Or you turn on the TV and you watch Cam Scatterby ripping it up too. I think if Travis Hunter was on there, because it's a weekend where there's not that many college football games, you're watching just about every game that's playing that day. I think that would have helped Travis Hunter's campaign. Now, I do think that a lot of Heisman voters already put in their Heisman vote before that weekend even started.
Yeah, and I mean, the odds for Travis Hunter at this point are just unreal. I mean, he's got like a 95% implied probability to win the Heisman Trophy, which is why, like I said, I understand why the ESPNs of the world and the different talking heads of sports media, doing their job by trying to campaign for some of these other guys. But the sports books are essentially begging you, if you believe that Travis Hunter is not going to win the Heisman Trophy. They're essentially saying, come on up, we'll give you odds. We'll give you long odds here, long odds there, whatever it might be. But I think anybody with a brain understands that this thing is, for the most part, wrapped up.
Vegas would not be posting those odds if it wasn't wrapped up.
Exactly.
Now, they probably have massive liability on Travis Hunter, so they want to get rid of some of that.
He's 50-1 before the year.
I think they're going to get absolutely crushed once he gets the Heisman Trophy. But they're not posting minus 2,000, whatever it is, minus 2,500 right now. If it wasn't a virtual guarantee that he's going to win this.
Yeah, I agree. Real quick, you guys, let me tell you about our friends over at Peckish. Our fine folks over there are presenting sponsor here of the Sko Show. 2 locations across Colorado, one down here in Denver off of I-25 and Bellevue. So for any of the Denver Metro Buff fans, make sure to check out our friends over at Peckish. And of course, their original location up on the hill in Boulder. Danny and I were over there about a week ago doing some sports trivia. I mean, every time I talk about our friends over at Peckish, I come up with a new great thing to say, because the food is absolutely incredible. The staff is absolutely incredible. Awesome drink specials, and I can't wait to get back to Peckish here soon enough, my friend.
It's the best. I haven't been in a couple of weeks, but it is. I need some of those wings.
I've been thinking about this the peckish pet pie with the hot honey drizzle that they put on it. It's elite,
bro. The pepperoni,
the pep, yeah. It's like, because it's weird, sometimes hot honey could be a little overpowering, right? Like a little too sweet, but it balances out the pizza perfectly. Like you get just a subtle note of that sweetness mixed in with the pepperoni and the other toppings that they put.
Well, Ian says you got to throw the pepperoncinis on there.
Yeah, you got to order it Ian style for sure, man. Shout out to our friends over at Peckish, man. Like I said, check them out. 2 locations across Colorado, one up on the hill in Boulder, and their brand new location in the Denver metro area off of I-25 and Bellevue. Let them know that the Sko Show sent you. It's like a college bar in the middle of Denver. So check them out. And like I said, let them know that the Sko Show sent you. But why don't we play this clip? And real quick, if Danny can go to the wide shot, we have our new Mile High Sports magazines up. We've got Aaron Gordon and Patrick Surtain on the dueling covers.
Are those models are professional athletes?
Yeah, Aaron Gordon is definitely looking like a model, that's for sure. And I had the opportunity during the interview process to sit down with Pat and kind of ask him some rapid fire questions, one of which was about Travis Hunter. You're talking about the best cornerback in the NFL and the best cornerback in college football and just the best player in college football in general. And I thought what Patrick Surtain had to say about Travis Hunter speaks volumes to how he's viewed across the landscape of football. Here's what Patrick Surtain had to say at our Mile High Sports magazine shoot.
Being that you're a cornerback, I got to ask you, what's your opinion on Travis Hunter?
I think he's a unicorn, a jack of all trades. I don't think we've never seen anything like it. I mean, at just such a high level. Him playing both ways, and it's not him just playing both ways, it's the amount of plays he play at an efficient level both ways. I don't think people take that unnoticed, but people would just need to understand that's very hard to do. And just playing at the level he's playing at, I mean, his value is very high for himself. So, yeah, I just think he's the ultimate player's player for sure.
I mean,
wraps it up right there.
Look, I think my opinion is good. I think Chase's opinion is good. But if you're getting that from the man himself in Patrick Surtain, who played at Bama, who understands what SEC football and big-time college football is like, a national champion as well, I mean, that is the ultimate endorsement. And to kind of bring it back to a local level, how cool is it to see members of the local sports community like Pat, some other Broncos, I believe some Denver Nuggets players as well, walking around the last couple of weeks with the Heisman merch as well. Like, everybody's buying into what Travis Hunter's been selling up there in Boulder.
Travis Hunter, he's it. He's him. And I think a lot of these athletes want to be like him. I know there were a lot of interviews like before the season. They're like, who's your favorite athlete? And a lot of professional athletes were saying Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
Like that's the type of player that we're dealing with. And Pat Surtain, to be able to talk about that, I think he went to Alabama and was playing wide receiver, and then they moved him to corner. So he's a guy that could have done both. He would have known how hard it is to actually do both. And a guy like Nick Saban probably isn't letting you play both sides of the ball. But I think Pat Surtain had the ability to be able to do that. So he knows how hard it is to do and how consistent you have to be game in and game out to be able to be elite at both sides. It's not just snap count. He put up the numbers at wide receiver. He's top 10 in yards, top 3 in touchdowns. I think he's top 5 in receptions. He put up the numbers at receiver, and he shut down his side on the defensive side of the ball.
And I think the ultimate compliment to a guy like Travis Hunter as well is he followed Coach Prime, right? Like he from high school to Jackson State to Colorado. Like Travis Hunter's a kid that could play on any given team, any given Saturday. Like if he wants to start at Georgia, he could have done that. If he wanted to start at Bama, he could have done that. Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, whatever it might be. Maybe that's why Dan Lanning's so upset, because Travis Hunter's not playing for him. And, at the end of the day, like that, I think speaks volumes to the level of talent that you have in a kid like Travis Hunter. And that's why I'm excited to see what he does at the next level. It's been a blessing to watch him up here in Colorado. And, not just Travis Hunter, but the entire Buffs team's also playing in that bowl game.
Alamo Bowl, baby.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, it's good to see that Coach Prime said, no, we got to finish the deal. We saw what happened to some teams that sat out a bunch of guys in their bowl game last year. We're going to finish the deal with Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, and we get to watch them play one last time. I think they're going to have a nice showing against BYU. I think they're going to want to send a message.
Yeah, and it's a matchup that a lot of people were hoping to get in the regular season, obviously, or in the Big 12 championship game, rather. Obviously, it didn't come to fruition, but you're going to get that here in the Alamo Bowl. But before we get out of here, why don't we play a little matchmaker if we could? If you had a Heisman vote, if you had a Heisman ballot.
Danny's the one that needs matchmaker.
Yeah, That's a conversation for another day. That is for. Hey, my man's getting his shots up though. I respect that. If you had a Heisman ballot, what would your top 3 be?
Travis Hunter, Ashton Genty, Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward could have gotten himself in the conversation if Miami won a few more games down the stretch. But Ashton Genty, I don't ever want to take much away from him.
He's a great player.
It's these minions on Twitter that makes me want to go to bat for Travis Hunter. But and then it gets a little funny to talk about Mountain West competition and all of that. But what Ashton Genty has done this year, we haven't seen a running back like this in a long time. He's not anywhere close to Barry Sanders' record. He's played way more games, and he still doesn't have the yards yet. So we're not going to talk about breaking Barry Sanders' record. But what he has done as a running back is very impressive. He deserves to be the number 2. He's best offensive player in college football, but he doesn't do it on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, look, they played Oregon week 2, did Boise State, but like you're going to get all worked up over Georgia Southern. You're going to get worked up over Portland State, Hawaii, Nevada. Like, I mean, come on. Like you're talking about, they beat UNLV twice, right? Which is obviously a good program this year. But at the end of the day, man, to me, it's the level of competition that Boise State went up against compared to what Colorado had to deal with in the Big 12 is not even a comparison. And I understand it was a kind of a weird year for the Big 12, but I don't know. Just look at the schedule. But again, I hope the Broncos end up drafting Ashton Genty. Like that's kind of where I'm at on that. I think he's a great player. I hope we get to see him in blue and orange in his NFL career.
I don't know about Broncos. It might be your other team there.
Yeah, I'll take him in Dallas. Well, there's a lot of problems in Dallas right now. We don't have to talk about that. But no, I like your ranking. I would probably go, obviously, Travis Hunter, number 1, Genty, number 2. I think I'm going Scadaboo, number 3. I just don't think Arizona State, and like I saw you tweeted it out, Arizona State and their head coach are so likable. And I understand that, they play in the same conference and whatnot. Like, obviously, you want Colorado to be there, but what a cool story for Arizona State to kind of turn this program around post Herm Edwards, right? They've been irrelevant for a long, long time. I just think when you're talking about true value and impact, Scadaboo gives you that at the running back position. And I thought what he's done over the second half of the season, putting the team on his back, kind of being the heartbeat of that team, I'd make him my number 3.
Yeah, I think what he's done is as a leader of that football team, and then just some of his performances, he has willed them to quite a few victories just by literally there were games where Arizona State was not going to throw the ball, and they kept on handing it to Scadaboo, and they could not stop him. And that's how they were willed to a lot of these victories. And obviously they're going to the college football playoff. They won the Big 12, and what Coach Dilly has done there is pretty awesome. It's very similar to what Coach Prime has done here, except Arizona State had a little bit of a better season.
Yeah, and I love how both of us do not mention Dylan Gabriel in our top 3. Left-handed quarterback, whatever it might be. But my realistic point on that is he's a system quarterback. I think his success is more so about the system and the scheme that Oregon runs. Like, Bo Nix was great at Oregon. Like, it's not like you were doing anything, like, all you had to do is not mess it up. So that's how I kind of look at it from Dylan Gabriel. One more thing before we cut it loose. You surprised Shedeur's not higher in the Heisman conversation?
Yeah, well, when we talk about Dylan Gabriel, I just think we've seen this over the years, and I think it's well-deserved. I do think wins are a quarterback stat. I think quarterbacks have to win football games at the end of the day.
Don't tell Mina Kimes that.
And, well, okay.
It's literally in her Twitter bio. Wins aren't a quarterback stat.
They are a quarterback
They absolutely are a quarterback stat.
Jalen Hurts, the reason why he's good at quarterback is he wins football games.
Yeah.
But it's also an important stat when it comes to the Heisman Trophy. And the quarterback on the best team, I think, deserves to be in New York. And Oregon has clearly been the best team this year. They're clearly number 1. So I think he deserves to go to New York. If you had another 5th choice, then maybe it's Shedeur Sanders, but you don't normally see 5 guys making the trip to New York.
Yeah, and I think on closing on that point too, like Shedeur has his priority on other things. Like Shedeur's, he's got the music going. He's trying to, thank you God, trying to go to the Raiders, right? Like, I think Shedeur would like to be in the Heisman running, but I think Shedeur's like, that's the thing. I think Shedeur sometimes gets a bad rap. Like, he wants Travis to be the Heisman. Coach Prime wants Travis to be the Heisman. I can think back to after the first game last year against TCU in the post-game interview where Coach Prime's talking about, he makes a catch or two. The Heisman's in his crib chilling right now. And so like this is, I think, been all part of the plan is get Shedeur to the league, have him be one of the top picks, if not the top pick, get Travis the Heisman Trophy, and also make him a top 5 pick as well. So it's all going according to plan.
Isn't it crazy how a guy like Coach Prime speaks things into existence? Yeah. This is everything that he said when he got here.
They all doubted him.
And he's doing it.
And he's going to keep doing it as well. So that's exciting. But Follow Chase on social at Chase Howell _. I'm at Media by AP. Make sure to like the video, smash that subscribe button. That way you guys never ever miss an episode of the Sko Show or any of the other incredible content that we have here on the Mile High Sports YouTube channel. We're going to do another show this week as well, talking about the recruits and the portal and all that good stuff. And then, of course, we'll have an Alamo Bowl preview coming up sooner rather than later. But for Chase Howell, Danny Bailey behind the glass, I'm Aniello, Piro. We'll talk to you guys here soon when Travis Hunter wins that Heisman Trophy. Check out our friends over at Peckish and Sko Buffs.
Sko Buffs.